on today's show is where we're going to start today with His Excellency David Comissiong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM and Chairperson of the Caribbean Pan-African Network. So good morning and welcome back.
Good morning, Tisha. It's great to see you again.
It's good to see you too. I feel like I've seen you a few times already for the week. Oh wait, I have. Of course, we had a wonderful discussion over the weekend on Saturday as we marked Africa CARICOM Day.
Yes, and this is like part 2 of that discussion. On Saturday, Africa CARICOM Day, we focused on the governmental side of the Caribbean African connection. We focused on the governments of the African Union and the governments of CARICOM, including Barbados, of course. But today, we're going to focus on the civil society connection between the Caribbean and Africa. I must tell you that long before I was Barbados ambassador to CARICOM, I was the chairman of the Caribbean Pan-African Network. This is a pan-Caribbean organization, Pan-Africanist organization. We have representatives in 17 different Caribbean countries. We are incorporated in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have our headquarters in Trinidad and Tobago. And that organization was established in 2004. So I've been chairperson since 2004. I don't seem to be able to get away from that position. And we were established actually right here in Barbados. The meeting was held right here in Barbados at the office of the Commission for Pan-African Affairs. I was the director at the time. So it was the Clement Payne Movement of Barbados, the Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, and the African Union's Citizens and Diaspora Directorate. We met here and we decided to establish a Caribbean organization, civil society organization that would interact and relate with the civil society bodies of the African Union. So we've been going since 2004. This is our 20th anniversary. And we connected with the African Union Citizens and Diaspora Directorate and also the African Union's Economic, Social and Cultural Council. So all 3 organizations are celebrating 20 years this year, just by coincidence. And to do that celebration, we're having a global Africa people-to-people forum, a virtual forum on Thursday of this week. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about the AU, their civil society components. And we have with us the program officer of the African Union's Economic, Social and Cultural Council, Mr. Sefah Bright. So he's coming to us from all the way in Lusaka, Zambia, to have this discussion with us this morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mr. Bright, and welcome to Morning Barbados. Certainly wonderful to have you with us.
A very good morning to you as well, Ambassador Comissiong. It's good to see you again and to always work with you.
All right, so talk to us a little bit about the organization which you represent.
Okay, so as Ambassador Comissiong mentioned, my name is Bright Sefah. I work with the African Union Economic, Social and Cultural Council, which is the civil society organ of the African Union. I do believe the African Union does not really need much of introduction, but then it is a member state-led organization that is supposed to see to the developmental agenda of the African people and the diaspora as well. ECOSOCC specifically was set up as an advisory body for the organ to take civil society inputs, the work of citizens and civil society organizations, to be part and parcel of the work of the African Union. The African Union's leadership thought it wise that the work of the Union should not only be about governments meeting and talking to themselves, but rather also having these citizens as part and parcel of the work that we do. Again, when you look at the vision of Agenda 2063 being the blueprint document for Africa's development and its diaspora, it calls for a people's driven union where the citizens of Africa and its diaspora are put at the center of its developmental agenda. And I think that is why in 2004, AU ECOSOC was formed to bring this to fruition. But I think, as Ambassador Comissiong has said, it's been 20 years since ECOSOC was formed, since the relationships within the diaspora circles, among others, was formed. And I must say it's been quite a good journey that we have extensively enjoyed, and we are looking forward to building on some of the successes that we have had, and if there were any challenges, see to how best we can find practical solutions to them in moving forward and enhancing the continent and our diaspora as well.
That you're doing, I'm interested in finding out how organizations like yours are received on the ground where you are he's in Zambia, you say Zimbabwe?
Headquarters of ECOSOCC is in Zambia.
Okay, so in Zambia, how are these organizations received on the ground? A lot of the times we focus heavily on what's happening in the diaspora, as we should, but also what's happening on the ground where we are is of equal importance.
Thank you very much. I think in the wisdom of our leadership, we made it in such a way that no single individual, being an African or in the diaspora, will be left behind. And for that, when ECOSOC is created, it's more about an open door policy that will accommodate each and every individual. And so it's been structured into two. We have statutory bodies and non-statutory bodies. And by the statutory bodies, we have two civil society organizations coming from all the 55 member states of the African Union. We have 8 civil society organizations working within our sub-regions, being the regional economic communities of Africa. And then we have 10 who are operating at the continental level. And then we also made space for 20 seats for the diaspora. As we speak now, we have not filled the 20 seats that we have because we did not have a diaspora framework that will guide how we will have our diaspora colleagues be part and parcel of the work that we are doing. I am happy to say that we have made progress on the work that we are doing on the diaspora framework, and by close of this year, we'll have a framework that will have 20 colleagues from the diaspora join us within the African Union's General Assembly of ECOSOC, which is the statutory body of the ECOSOC. And I think Ambassador Comissiong, who has had the opportunity to be part of the General Assembly, I do believe he was being awarded for his good work that he did during the ECOSOC's Citizens Forum, which took place in July this year. So he can tell you the good work that he also did when he was a member who joined in the ex officio capacity, being appointed by the chairperson of the African Union. But beyond that, we do not want to limit engagements to these statutory bodies, and that is why we are enhancing the platforms to have more engagements. And for that, we introduce platforms such as the Citizens Forum, where it's more of a parallel structure where governments meet on one side, African citizens and the diaspora also meet on the other side to discuss relevant topical issues that are important for Africa and the diaspora. Again, we thought it important about 4 years ago to think through how best we can also enhance and bridge the gap between the work that we have been doing with our diaspora colleagues. And then so between us, the CPAN and the Caribbean networks, we brought the Global Africa People to People Forum, a platform that I believe, I should say, has been very, very successful in bridging that gap as we needed it to be. And I'm happy to say that we are in the fourth phase of Global Africa People to People Forum. We've had it virtually because of the challenges we've had with resources, but then we are looking at in the near future having in-person meetings where we will all meet on a similar platform and then discuss issues among us. This year's 2024 Peoples to Peoples Forum is looking at 20 years of existence of the African Union and the diaspora engagement. And as I've mentioned, we need to take stock of some of the achievements that we have had and also look at the challenges that we've faced in these few years that we've had this relationship and what we can do better to enhance the relationship, because we need to build on what we have done in the past so that we have a very good future. We will also be looking at
A
empowering
lot.
Africa.
Hello. Hi. You said a
Yes.
lot. So I want to pause a little bit and kind of reflect on some of what you've said so far, just so we can follow on. You're moving pretty quickly. So I think it's important for us to kind of rein it in so that we kind of grasp it in bite sizes.
Yeah, well, you asked a very general question, but Bright gave you a very specific and granular
that was
answer.
far from specific.
But and I think because he's anxious to get on to talking about the Global African People-to-People Forum that is going to be happening on Thursday. But to your more general question, I mean, it's important that our viewers know, okay, the Africa Unity basically started in 1963 with the Organization of African Unity. But at that time, the priorities for Africa was the decolonization movement and the anti-apartheid struggle. So the OAU kind of focused, it was set up to focus on decolonization and getting rid of apartheid. When that had been accomplished by the end of the last century, it occurred to the African leadership, look, we need a different kind of organization for the 21st century. And so they came up with the idea that they needed a new continental organization that would be more focused on economic development, social development, integration of the continent. So they phased out the OAU, and in 2002, they launched the African Union. And the African Union is headquartered in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. It's a massive organization. I mean, it is CARICOM plus, so it has, like, you know, the heads of state and government conference, it has executive council, it has a Pan-African parliament, it has an AU commission on human and people's rights, a court on human, I mean, ECOSOCC, Economic, Social and Cultural Council, CEDAW, and I can go on and on. A lot of it is folk-centered in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, but as you indicated, some of it has been decentralized. So, for example, ECOSOCC is headquartered in Zambia, and you were asking, well, has that been embraced by the Zambian people? Yes, so to the extent that some parts of the African Union has been decentralized in different African countries, very welcome development. But the African leadership went beyond the continent. The African leadership said, hey, our diaspora in places like the Caribbean, that's the sixth region of Africa. I mean, we have North, Central, East, West, Southern Africa, but there's another region, and that region is the diaspora. And so that is why they reached out to us at the beginning of this century. In fact, I was part of the meeting in Trinidad in 2003, where we developed the definition of the African diaspora. And in collaboration with the African Union, we developed it in Trinidad. And we said the African diaspora consists of people of African origin who live outside the continent and who, irrespective of nationality or citizenship, once they are committed to helping with the development of the African continent and the African Union, they are considered a member of the African diaspora. And so the African Union set up CEDAW, Citizens and Diaspora Directorate, to reach out to us. They gave ECOSOCC, Economic, Social, and Cultural Council. They said, look, you organize African civil society, but also include a space for diaspora civil society. So as Bright indicated, for many years, it was only the Caribbean who had so organized itself in the diaspora that we were the ones drawn upon to sit on the ECOSOCC councils, the ECOSOCC assembly, to represent the entire diaspora. So I have sat on the ECOSOCC assembly representing the entire diaspora, as have other members of our Caribbean Pan-African network. And so we have had this 20-year relationship. We, the Caribbean, and the Caribbean Pan-African Network in particular, we have had this 20-year relationship with the African Union. And in recent years, we started this annual Global Africa People-to-People Forum, where we bring together personalities and young people from the diaspora with personalities, governmental and other personalities from the African continent, and we speak about different topics that are of relevance to both regions. You mentioned Tahir Bulbulia, just by coincidence. He is one of our youth participants in the Global Africa People-to-People Forum on Thursday.
You started talking about this initiative that is online, that kind of engages civil society.
Yes, it's, as the name speaks for itself, Global Africa. And these days, rather than talking about Africa and the African diaspora, we now speak about Global Africa. So Global Africa People-to-People Forum. So we have topics like zone of peace, Caribbean being a zone of peace, Africa being a zone of peace. We have the crisis situation in Haiti and the one in Sudan on the African continent. We have the issue of violence, black on black crime and violence. And then, of course, we're going to be speaking about the 20-year relationship of CPAN and ECOSOCC and CEDAW. So for each topic, we have like major presenters. So for example, Prime Minister Gonzalez, or the President of the Pan-African Parliament on the African continent. But then we have youth who listen to these presentations from the major presenters and then give a youth response. So that is where a young man like Tahir Bulbulia, Tahir is going to be, from the diaspora, he's going to be the quote-unquote youth respondent to the discussion about peace and the Caribbean and Africa being zones of peace. So yes, and Bright can probably speak about some of the personalities who will be appearing on the forum. It's a virtual forum, and anybody, any part of the world can tune in to that forum. It starts at 9:30 a.m. our Eastern Caribbean time on Thursday. But I'll leave Bright to say a little bit more about the presenters and the topics.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can go right ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so as Ambassador Comissiong has said, we are in the fourth phase of this forum. Initially started as an engagement between ourselves and the Caribbean, but we saw how important it was and how there were more interests from other parts of the world to be part of this engagement, and as we transformed it to the Global Africa People to People Forum. As he mentioned, we would look at commemorating the 20 years of existence, the relationship between ourselves, and we'll have the head of programs from the ECOSOCC Secretariat also joining us to speak on it, to relive some of the engagements since he has been in the seat of this engagement as well. Again, we will have presentations and responses from the chairperson for the Cluster for Peace and Security within the ECOSOCC General Assembly, who would also come in and share perspectives on some of the issues that we will talk about. And of course, Mr. Mahmoud Kamara, who is not new to this particular activity, also share on some of the peace and security work that he has also been involved in within these areas. We will all, as mentioned, have the president of Pan-African Parliament come in to share a message of solidarity, considering that the Pan-African Parliament is also celebrating 20 years since it was formed. So it's an opportunity to have the president of the Pan-African Parliament also join us. And then we'll have a youth representative from Mauritius, which is one of the island countries in Africa. Ms. Dashini Ramnath also come in and provide responses. We will also look at Haiti and Sudan to see how we can bring peace to these areas. I think we all know some of the challenges our colleagues in Haiti have faced when it comes to peace and security. Similarly, in Sudan, there's been some upsurges and challenges with peace and security. The African Union is doing quite a lot of work within this area, and then we are looking forward to having discussions around that as well. And we will have the president of the Pan-African Lawyers Union of Africa, Mr. Donald Dea, also join us to have the discussions around this side as well. And then we'll have a youth representative from Sudan itself. Remember, we've talked about how important it is to have citizens being part of it as well. So we will have a youth representative from Sudan join us to speak on some of the issues and then the challenges they're also facing on the grounds. And then on the next phase, we would also look at combating black on black crime, where we will also look at some of the challenges blacks are facing across the continent when it comes to hate on blacks wherever they may find themselves. Issues that will pertain in governance and its relationships on black people, how crime is affecting them. We'll look at apartheid and its implications on black people. We will look at peace and security affecting them wherever they find themselves. And among other things that we'll look at black on black crime, we will have someone also speak on it. Miss Kundai from Zimbabwe will come in to speak on these issues as well. And then I will have also performances from some of our good artists from the continent and also from the diaspora, who would also join us and give us some good performances during the event. I thank you.
All right. Definitely sounds like a comprehensive presentation, and it runs on Thursday, as you mentioned.
Thursday. Bright focused a lot on the presenters from the African side, but it would be remiss of me not to say that the presenter on the issue of crime, the presenter from the Caribbean, is Minister Corey Lane of Barbados. And of course, we also have a presenter from the United States, Dr. Ron Daniels. Because, you know, this crime situation is facing all of us, in the black communities in the US and the Caribbean, on the continent of Africa. For Haiti, we are going to have Ambassador Colin Granderson, who is CARICOM's Haiti expert, who works with a group of eminent persons. So it's really very well qualified presenters. And on each panel, then you will have the youth responding to what the main presenters do. So yes, 9:30. I'm not sure if we have the poster, but the poster has the Zoom details, how people can link in. But yes, we are circulating the information as best we can on social media, not only in Barbados and the Caribbean, but on the continent and all across global Africa.
Is there room for engagement outside of the people who are set up to present on the various topics and those giving feedback? Yeah,
there'll be a short period where people who are tuned in can pose a question and get the question answered. It's a 3-hour program, and we're trying to cover quite a bit of ground in 3 hours. So obviously it's not going to be a long time for question and answer, but yes, built into the format is a period for question and answer.
All right, and Bright, finally from you, a quick word of encouragement for people to be able to come on and hear more about what's happening across the regions?
Thank you very much. I do believe when it comes to the Africa diaspora relationship, it's been more of questions than answers. And I do believe this particular platform presents the opportunity for ourselves to listen to our experts, our respondents, so that we can have some of the answers that we seek in terms of the African Union's working relationship with our diaspora. There's been a lot that has been put in place by the African Union, and I think this platform will open up more opportunities that the African Union is putting in place to enhance engagement with our diaspora. I must say that the numbers when it comes to the African diaspora continues to grow. And it is only important, it's only prudent that we tap into that vital resource that is out there so that we can see how best we can also enhance the continent as well. So it's a presenting opportunity. And beyond this, and also importantly, the African Union is dedicating next year, 2025, for reparations. For those of you who may recall, the African Union sent a team to the Caribbean to learn about some of the good work that has been done within the Caribbean in terms of reparations. And I think that is what we are building on into next year, dedicating the whole year for reparations. And I'm looking forward to having greater engagement beyond the Peoples to Peoples Forum. But then this Peoples to People Forum will set the tone for moving into next year. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Bright Sefah, Program Officer with AU ECOSOCC, for joining us this morning to share on this all-important panel that's coming up. Very, very important. And for those people who are able to really go in tomorrow on Zoom, I think it will be on Thursday. It will be a great way to, find out a little bit more if you want to explore, and certainly to share briefly if you can get in. So again, thank you, Ambassador, for coming in and sharing this with us. We certainly look forward to hearing more about it.
My pleasure, Tisha. Thank you very much as well.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.